Hi, welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Crayden. It's Monday. Ooh, that felt like Monday today. July 22nd. I think it's the 22nd. What a weekend. When we come back, you won't believe how this director of the Secret Service performed today in front of the House Oversight Committee. When we come back, it's.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please ring the bell. Smash the bell. Tell us how much you like the station. I know your comments are so appreciated. We all have those days where you wonder, you're doing the right thing with your life. And I look at the comments when I'm ever feeling that way because you guys uplift me so much. And thank you for all the kind things you say. I know my show reaches a niche that other shows might not necessarily be reaching. And we just are watching those numbers rise. And I must admit, when a year ago or so, when we started doing this in a serious way, I'm not sure I knew where I was going to be in a year with this show. But it's exciting, and every day is an adventure, and it's nice to be able to do the news that I want to cover. And so, what's been happening today? Well, if you've been following the U.S. news, and yes, we're going to get back to some Canadian news tomorrow. But I just couldn't let this go unreported on my station here because if you watched yesterday, you found out, of course, you didn't probably learn it here first, but President Joe Biden, dropping out of the race, and the heir presumptive is Vice President Kamala Harris, who is really not an improvement on Joe Biden. Yeah, she's got some years on him, but I would say overall, she suffers from the same degree of incompetency. But speaking of incompetency, it is just incredible to watch this Kim Cheatle, who is still the director of the United States Secret Service. This is the group that you all know that has been charged pretty well since the Lincoln assassination with looking after the security and the life of the president, the vice president, and the family, and of course, retired presidents. So the whole family doesn't get looked after, but Donald Trump gets it, and George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, they are still getting Secret Service assistance. I'm not sure they really want it. Now, if there was a bunch of people out there trying to get Barack Obama, I'm not sure Obama would want the Secret Service, in all honesty, looking after him. I think when Trump becomes president again, not if he becomes president again, he's going to shake up the Secret Service. He's going to do something about it. And at the very least, I think he's going to get an alternative because they have demonstrated such gross incompetence. And the director, this Kimberly Cheatle, has been sitting, and she's still there right now, actually, and sitting in front of a House Oversight Committee. It's a powerful committee that's part of the House of Representatives, part of the United States Congress, that is charged with investigating matters just like this. When there's a attempted assassination, the security was so incredibly bad, they're looking into what happened. And the more questions they ask, the fewer questions they get answered by Cheatle. But I have never seen congressmen and women on both sides of the aisle. Yeah, I know I'm always talking about it being a uniparty, but there are times when it's nice to see bipartisan support for an issue like this and bipartisan recognition that this woman should resign immediately. But she sits there. She's been sitting there for over 3 hours, refusing to answer questions. And I just heard, just before going on the air, that there have been calls for her to be charged with perjury because she is under oath. She's testifying before a congressional committee. It's a lot more serious in the States. She was subpoenaed to be there because she did not want to be there at all. And she has been changing her testimony throughout the day. What little testimony she gives, she keeps saying, I don't have those details. I don't have those details. I can't answer that question. But she did say some remarkably, incredibly stupid things today. And we're going to have a look at that in a minute. But I've never seen the level of anger demonstrated against any witness. They were just furious with this woman, not just because she demonstrated such gross incompetence as a director of the Secret Service. It essentially just invited a potential assassin. Come on in, set it up, set your rifle up, make yourself comfortable on the roof. We're not going to bother you. Get ready to fire and go for it. That's exactly what the Secret Service did. And if you're telling me the best defense against an assassination is for four of them to suddenly cover Trump, grab onto him after the first shots have been fired, after 8 shots are being fired, that is insanity. You're not going to protect the president that way. You're probably going to lose personnel, but the bullets are going to go right through the Secret Service personnel into the president, especially when it's an AR-15. These are big shells. So to think this is a courageous thing to do, and this is how they're going to save the life of the president, this is just a stupid thing to have to do. This is not good security. This is one of the worst police forces I've ever seen in the world. Overconfident, completely oversold. This is an organization that is just incredibly inept. And this is a director. She sits there blandly answering the questions that she will answer, but not looking in the least like she's sorry or that she really feels responsible, not just for the fact that Donald Trump was almost assassinated, but another innocent bystander was killed in cold blood. This fire chief from a local community who took the bullet. This guy is dead today. There's a wife without a husband. There's at least one daughter without a father because this jerk in directing the Secret Service did a phenomenally poor job. Okay, let's listen to some of it. This is Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina here. And I've never seen, like I said, such frankness. And this is entertaining to watch.
Are watching, and they're wondering if there are any questions you can answer honestly today. So, Director Cheatle, I have a series of questions, very specific questions. I want very specific answers. Most of my questions are going to demand a yes or no answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, my first question. Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure is the question, yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure, yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable, yes or no?
Yes.
Incredible.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent, yes or no?
I have always been
Yes
eager to
or no?
come
You didn't
and
want to
talk
answer
to
the question.
committee.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political, yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post, all done at 5:24 a.m., 6:12 a.m., 6:34 a.m., a solid 3 to 4 hours before this committee got your statement.
Without objection, so ordered.
Okay. Is the Secret Service fully cooperating with our committee?
Yes.
Okay, you say you're fully cooperating with this committee. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done?
Just to break for a second here. Now, if you had a job and you publicly admitted that you had committed a colossal failure, that it was all your fault, and somebody died, and the former president of the United States, and let's face it, the next president of the United States came that close to being killed. Do you think you would be able to retain your job? Do you think you could be able to admit that and say, yeah, I'm staying, I'm not resigning? This is just, we are living in a bad reality show right now with the Biden administration. It's just incredible what is going on.
Done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or
I
no?
will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Chairman, I want to.
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how
have you provided
upset we
any
get.
and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
that. That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. These are not hard questions. Have you provided us all communications from the Secret Service related to that day and that rally? Have you provided this committee? We've asked for this information on July 15th. Have you provided any of this information that this committee has asked of the Secret Service? Any of it?
I'll have to get back to you.
Have you even read this letter that we sent you? Did you even read this?
Yes.
Okay, and you have said you don't know, you have no idea. Well, the answer is no. We haven't gotten a single document or piece of information or data from you or your agency in related to the rally that we have asked you for. So,
just an aside here. Cheatle was an equity hire, a diversity hire by Joe Biden. She should never have gotten this job. She's clearly way over her head. She can't do the job competently. She got the job, like I said, because she's a woman. Now, on the left hand of the screen, there's a competent woman, a congresswoman named Nancy Mace. She's doing her job. She's competent. She can do her job. Unfortunately, the woman on the right can't do her job, and she should be fired or resign. Why is it nobody is fired in the Biden administration or in government per se these days? People get away with literally murder. They get away with this, and they never are told they have to resign or they're fired. Never. They stay in their jobs. Just like in the debacle after the Afghanistan withdrawal, once again, people died. It was incredible incompetency. Billions of dollars of military equipment left for the Taliban. Nothing was done right. Nobody had to resign. No heads rolled. Nothing happened. And this just seems to be the way the game is played right now. And it's appalling.
So, was this attempted assassination of Donald Trump a failure of training or execution or both?
I think that those are answers that we need to examine.
Training, execution, or both? Which one?
I think those are answers.
All right. How many Secret Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure?
At this time, none.
How many Secret Service personnel have been required to take a refresher course on how not to let people shoot Donald Trump?
Our personnel are currently operational. We are examining the facts of this investigation, and we will make the changes necessary.
What time did law enforcement become aware that there was an individual on the roof with a clear line of sight to President Trump?
I am still verifying timelines.
Of course, 9 days in, you have no answers. How many minutes went by between the time law enforcement saw and took photos of crooks and the shooting? How many minutes?
I am still verifying timelines.
57 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
Incredible. And there's more to come. I don't want to belabor the point, but it's very clear. If this is not the worst incompetence you've ever seen from a security outlet anywhere in the world, this is an inside job. They clearly wanted Donald Trump to be dead. Somebody wanted this to happen, or they really are that bad. It's one or the other. Maybe it's both. Maybe they're incompetent and they wanted Donald Trump dead. I don't know. But I can tell you this. She wants what, 3 months to come up with she wants 60 days to come up with some kind of report. If you're watching social media if you've been watching over the last 4 or 5 days, people have already got this figured out. There appears to be more than one shooter. There was at least 8 shots, 6 or 7 shots got out before there was any response. There's different sound signatures and distance signatures on these bullets, so they didn't all come from the same location. There's evidence that there was somebody on the water tower. Well, maybe somebody or something was there. And she, of course, today would not rule out the fact there could be 2 shooters. Now, all we hear about is, don't resort to conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories only means that there's more than one person involved in the operation or the crime. So it's not hard to constitute a conspiracy very, very easily. The Kennedy assassination, we clearly know that was a conspiracy of more than one person. And this seems to be as well. How could a 20-year-old outsmart the Secret Service like this? How could they be identified, like Nancy Mace says, an hour beforehand, and nobody tried to remove him? And nobody told Donald Trump, don't get on the stage to start speaking. Nobody took Donald Trump off the stage before the shots fired. This is just incredible. And we're watching history unfold before us. And you can say, yeah, I was there to see it, because there might come a time where people won't believe how inept the Secret Service was in this. Here's an interesting little exchange where Cheatle admits that she didn't think a guy on a roof with a gun pointing at the president was a threat. It was just suspicious. Listen to this. It's incredible.
Haven't been willing to provide any information about the decision to place the building in question outside the perimeter, the explosives placed in the shooter's vehicle, the use of a drone by the shooter, or when exactly the Secret Service identified the shooter as a threat rather than merely suspicious. What is your standard today for what you are willing to answer and what you are not? Because you've been inconsistent.
I'm certain that you can understand that some of the information that's been provided to you thus far has come from the FBI's investigation and has come from information that we have released. I want to make sure that information that is being provided to this committee is consistent and is factual.
But the question about the drone that the chairman asked at the beginning of the hearing, he said, do you know this information? And you acknowledge that, yes, you do know the information, you just don't want to tell us. I guess my question is that if you wanted to wait till the end of the investigation to draw conclusions, which you've acknowledged you're not, you're drawing conclusions right now and making changes. But if that was your standard, that you want to wait till the end of the investigation to draw conclusions, okay, at least you would be consistent in that. But what we're wanting to know today, and what would dispel some of the conspiracy theories out there, what would increase trust with the American people, is for you to let facts out, for you to tell us what you know. And I want to understand from you, why is that a problem? Why is it inconsistent with a quality investigation to release to the American people today at least the information that you know for sure? Because you certainly know for sure more information than you're willing to give us today.
I have released that there was a failure and that there are gaps that we need to make sure that they don't happen again.
That's not acceptable. That's not enough. That doesn't quell any conspiracy theories out there. In your 27 years of experience, would you have been concerned about an elevated location within 150 yards of a protectee that did not have a Secret Service presence? just based on your experience?
What I can tell you is that every site and every venue
No.
is advanced
I'm asking
differently.
for your experience. Looking at this situation, would that have been of concern to you? Or would you have agreed that it's fine, it doesn't need to be covered?
What I have explained today
You're
is
not going to
that
answer.
there was...
Is it true that at 5:45 p.m., approximately 18 minutes before President Trump took the stage, the Beaver County Emergency Services Unit noticed the shooter on the roof and photographed him? Is that a fact or not?
That is the information that I have from the FBI's report, yes.
You haven't been willing to share whether or when this was communicated to the Secret Service, so I'd like to get into the difference between suspicious activity and threatening activity. Is it suspicious or threatening if an individual is seen around the perimeter with a rangefinder? Is that just suspicious?
That could be termed as suspicious.
If that same individual with the rangefinder is found on a rooftop, is that still just suspicious, or is that considered threatening?
That could be termed still as suspicious.
All right, my time is over.
Incredible. You just heard it. It's just suspicious. There's a gunman on the roof about to fire, and that's suspicious. Not even a threat. What universe does this woman live in? Just incredible. I'm not going to say incompetent again. It's just beyond words at this point. But talk about incompetent. Kamala Harris. Yes, Kamala. I played this last night. I'm going to play it again because it illustrates how incredibly banal this woman is. And you know, we're going to hear it any minute now. Any day. The chorus from the legacy media in Canada is going to start about, oh, won't it be nice if Kamala Harris becomes president? Because, well, you know, she lived in Montreal. That almost makes her Canadian. So won't that be nice to have somebody as president who lived in Montreal as a little girl? That's exactly what we're going to start to hear from the Canadian media. Never mind that she has been the most unpopular vice president in history. Her ratings were even lower than those of Spiro Agnew, who had to resign in 1973 because of a tax scandal. He was Richard Nixon's first vice president. Her ratings were lower. Her approval ratings were lower than that. And suddenly, she's the answer for the Democratic Party. She's going to make it all better. She is going to take the party to victory because Joe Biden couldn't do it, but she can, even though she has been an absolute failure at everything she's ever done. She ran for the presidency, you recall? She couldn't even make it past, 5 primaries? And she couldn't win in her home state of California. She was hopeless. And now this is the answer for the Democratic Party. Well, of course, I don't buy that for a second, but listen to this.
Imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be
Yeah.
unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be unburdened by where we have been and unburdened by where we are right now.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What could be unburdened by what had been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Well, that's what we have to look forward to in the coming campaign. No doubt. She says that just about every time she opens her mouth at any appearance she makes. And no doubt she'll be repeating that incredibly inane line over and over again at any and every opportunity. So that's another example of how incompetent the Democratic Party is, the Biden administration is, and how these people make it all look, they're making America look like a bad reality show right now. It is just incredible. We'll be back again tomorrow with more of the news you want to hear. And I promise we'll look into some more Canadian news. Justin's out in my old stomping ground at Vancouver Island, not in Comox, my hometown, probably in Tofino again. Beautiful, beautiful beach there. But Trudeau always loves to escape. He's running away from the news right now because guess what? He's saying to himself, am I next? Am I next? Is it going to be me the next time who's going to resign? I think so. Like I said, I would be very surprised if he makes it through the summer. But we will see. Thanks for watching, people. God bless you, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.